Welcome back, and you're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV International, coming to you from the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities. And now it's time to learn more about the restoration works done here at the museum and means of restoring these beautiful ancient artifacts. Joining us now is Dr. Moamen Othman, and he's the director of the restoration department at the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities. Welcome, Doctor.
Dr. Moamen, thank you very much for being with us today on Nile Cruise. If we can start by the definition of restoration, what does that mean for a normal citizen or a normal
restoration in our specialty? It means every action or every action related to preserve or conserve or repair any object or any culture heritage. Here in Egyptian Museum we have more than 100,000 pieces in display, other big amount of pieces in storage. So it's a big responsibility to protect or to conserve this number of pieces. Our methodology here in the Egyptian Museum, we have staff of the conservation lab, about 40 persons. We have also a specialty, a group specialized in wood conservation, another group specialized in papyrus conservations. We have also different generations. We have younger generations. We have also what we call old generations. So we keep to interact, or this integration between both of them. First of all, we keep to we focus on the display pieces in the Egyptian Museum. Most of them of different materials, a big number of stones, different types of stones. Every morning we keep to clean, because we have a big amount of dust every day enter to the museum. So we keep to this daily work of cleaning to show the pieces in a very good manner for the visitors. This is one of the basic work we do, the stuff here. The other thing, we check all the pieces in display if any pieces needs any kind of interventions, any kind of restoration or conservation, or also consolidation, because you know it's a big number. For example, for the organic materials, they are very sensitive for any kind of deterioration, any kind of degradations. They are very sensitive for the relative humidity and high temperatures or low temperatures. So it's big responsibility to keep all this number of pieces. One of the biggest museums in terms of numbers. So it's a big responsibility to protect and to preserve this object.
Yes. Now, Doctor, I'd like to ask you about the restoration works which took place for the objects which have been repatriated during the year 2014-2015. Now, these have been stolen, so the way of getting them out of the country wasn't a safe way, and then they were brought back. Did you need to do a lot of restoration work on them before exhibiting them once again?
For the stuff, or for updating our stuff, it's a very big issue nowadays, because every day in the conservation field we have a new concept, a new methods, and new materials. Basically, to make or to do a very good restoration process, you have three basic elements: material, methods, and skill of restorer or the specialist. You need to keep these three elements in a very good way.
Yeah,
otherwise you will make a mistake, and to make mistakes in our field, it's not acceptable at all. So you need, first of all, updating for the materials, updating for the methods, also updating for the skills of the specialist.
Yeah, doctor, but I meant the objects exhibited right now, did they suffer a lot during their travels back and forth? Did you need to work on them, the pieces inside the temporary gallery?
Sometimes we work inside the gallery for the big objects, for example, and sometimes we have here our lab, conservation lab. It's not big space. We need space for, it's a big amount of pieces, and also we have another lab for specialized in papyrus conservation.
What about the more important artifacts that you worked on personally and that took you a lot of time to be restoring them?
One of them now we almost finished of it. It's a piece of wall painting called The Legend of Oedipus. One of the most beautiful, I think, wall painting, what we call fresco, is a common methods used to execute the wall painting as this in the Greco-Roman period. So it's so beautiful in terms of colors, in terms of state of conservation, in terms of story, of history, because it's a very unique to display or to tell this legend of Oedipus in this way.
Doctor, another important artifact which you have recently restored, and actually it was also with the international cooperation of Germany, is the beard and the mask of King Tutankhamun. Would you tell us about the restoration work on the mask?
Actually, it was a very good cooperation between the German and expert and the Egyptian expert. We studied the situation together, the state of conservation, and also what we call the mistake happened in 2014, for the intervention happened. So it was a very good opportunity also to study it from and to analyze the whole elements in the mask of the King Tut. It was a very good opportunity also to study the state of conservation. We found out a lot of things related to the beard, related to the techniques used for the beard and also for the mask. It was a very excellent. It was very excellent work, really, done by this type of cooperations between German expert and Egyptian expert.
Yes, we also know that a lot of artifacts will be transferred to the Museum of Egyptian Civilization and the new Grand Egyptian Museum. What about the artifacts that will be transferred to these museums? What about the restoration works? Are they currently on or they're currently underway as well on these artifacts or not yet?
For the Grand Egyptian Museum, for example, we have a unit specialized in the first aid. Before you transfer this object, you need to check it from conservation point of view to avoid any kind of damage happened during the transportation or during the packing or unpacking for the objects. So you need to check it before. After that, if it needs any kind of interventions or any kind of consolidation, this unit which work for the Grand Egyptian Museum make this kind of things, any kind of interventions or consolidation. For the same thing also for the Civilization Museum, for the Nile, as we do. If we can offer any kind of help regarding any kind of objects that in very critical state of conservation, so we offer our help. We study this together to avoid any kind of damage with my colleagues, of course, in the Grand Egyptian Museum or the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. We study together to avoid any kind of damage, any kind of degradations that could be happening for any object.
Moamen, for the restoration work and the expertise, do we have enough Egyptian restorers, or do we need and depend on international restorers as well?
It's in this case we have a very open mentality regarding this kind of things. If you need any kind of any restorer, any conservator that has a very good skills and he can help you in terms of cooperation, we accept that. No problem for us. We have a good cooperation, excellent cooperation with the Italian regarding the conservation of papyrus. Very good cooperation regarding the metals conservation with a German expert, for example. With American Institute, we have also a very good cooperation regarding the preventive conservation and the environmental control of the museum. It's no problem for us to deal with this work, even in Italy or in Germany. In Italy, for example, they have very good expert in the field of conservation, and at the same time they accept expert from outside. No problem at all.
Well, Dr. Moamen Othman, Director of the Restoration Department at the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities, thank you very much for this interview.
Thanks for you, and you're welcome at in the Egyptian Museum of Tahrir at any time. Thanks for it.
Thank you so much. And up next is the artistic segment and Gmeza Band with Nasser and Nubi and Yem Suwailem.